bienvenue au podcast The Scariest Things. Votre entrée dans les tendances et les tropes du genre de l'horreur. C'est épisode 151 d'horreur français. Je suis votre hôte, Liz Williams, et je suis rejoint par...
C'est moi, Eric Lee.
And Mike Campbell.
Good old American Mike Campbell.
Hello, mon ami.
Voulez-vous coucher?
Avec moi.
All right, in case I totally slaughtered that intro, this is episode 151, and we're talking about French language horror.
Shout out to
Could
Chris
be Belgium,
Cleland.
could be Moroccan. Yep. Shout out to Chris, our Patreon, for his excellent suggestion.
It is a
I think
great.
he
It
did
is a great.
Get on my
suggestion.
good side.
Yes. Well, Chris is one of our favorites. He is probably he is one of he absolutely listens to every single one of our podcasts and will give us feedback. And he almost always, I don't know if he's ever like totally bagged on us yet.
Well.
At some point,
Not
Chris.
yet.
Guess
Well, give it time, Chris.
it's coming tonight.
Yeah, we'll let you down.
We
don't
may
worry.
not have done Chris justice tonight.
Yes. And so
Also, Chris likes the extreme film, so
we'll have a couple of them.
we're gonna have a couple in here.
Oh, will we?
French lends itself. to
Oh,
that.
will we?
Oh, we.
I think so.
Okay.
Oui,
We.
bien sûr.
Yeah, Liz is, of the three of us, the only one who's had even a smattering of French. My French is limited. We were joking about it. It's like, I can do Pepe Le Pew. Oh. But that is about it for me. And Mike's not even going to touch that.
Zero. I'm not doing a Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah.
But Liz, you also have sort of a not only are you interested in French horror, you are interested in the country and all things.
Yes.
You would you call yourself
All things French.
a Francophile?
I would indeed. And when this episode drops, I think I'll be in France.
Oh, there you go.
Still.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect timing.
Hopefully they won't throw me out after they hear the intro. I'll be spreading the good news of the scariest thing.
You are Liz Williams? No, you cannot
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah, denied.
You have besmirched the French.
Hopefully they'll let me stay. Hopefully. Yeah, so I love the French cinema. I love French food. I love French culture, clothes,
Do go-
wine.
Recommendation
Well-
when you're going, since you're heading out there, I caught there's a new museum that's a Frank Gehry museum, and it's one of the best things he's ever done.
All right,
and
I'll have to look it up.
and it was for Cartier and the Moet, and all the
Yeah.
it's right in the heart of Paris. It's going to be unmistakable, but it's one of the crazy new modern museums that
I'll check
Is
it
it
out.
the
is it
Pompidou
haunted? Is it haunted?
not
though?
yet, but I
Oh.
think
Les Centres Pompidou?
Liz can help out with that by
Yeah.
pushing someone over
You
a
know,
balcony rail.
I looked up some what should horror fans do in France and in Paris, and it's really just go on the catacombs tour, which
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
been
right.
in the catacombs. I've seen an ossuary also in other places.
Yep.
And
Have
once
you-
you've seen a pile of bones underground, you've seen all
Yep.
the piles of bones.
Have you seen
underground.
As
the
Above, So
found
Below.
footage film As Above, So Below?
I just
I
did for
have
this.
not.
It's Amy loves it. It
Okay,
sucks.
Yeah, she's our found footage fan.
It kind of double sucks. I reviewed it for the podcast
Yeah.
a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and it does. It kind of double sucks. I think I gave it around 2-ish stars.
It gives you. I'd give it 2 stars. It is claustrophobic. Yes, it has about probably 5 to 10 minutes of actual footage within the catacombs.
right?
And then it's like the dumbest decisions a bunch of spelunkers and archaeologists could ever do. It's like, oh, that tunnel collapsed. Keep pushing forward.
Let's go in there.
Let's
Yeah.
keep going. It's like nobody ever comes back from this hallway. Let's do it. It's like, oh man, and plus it's in English, so it technically doesn't qualify for this round, but it is French.
Right.
So let's go over the criteria for this episode because I think we all understood the assignment. So we were looking at French foreign language films,
Yes.
not like films that were directed by French directors in America or anything else of the kind. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay. Okay.
I
Just so we're clear.
I think it was limited to it was French language films. However you want to play that out.
Right. Right.
So it's not. And so I saw another one which was The Night Swallows the World, which looks very.
Oh, yeah.
But that's in English.
Yep.
So it's
Oh,
like.
is it? Okay, I'm glad I didn't watch it then.
And
It's a zombie film, so
It's
that's not my bag.
It's a very
but-
slow, quiet zombie film. It's sad and lonely. It's a sad and lonely zombie.
And it made
Set
the
in
best
Paris,
posters of the year, according to the Scariest Things podcast,
It is a cool poster.
2018.
Awesome poster, but it looks almost exactly like As Above, So Below. They both have an inverted.
It's just flipped. Yeah.
It's like because I went in there and I got them at the same time and I was like, I just picked this movie. No, it's not. Okay, there we go.
Yep.
They look the same.
Yep.
So Liz, tell us why
Yes.
you love because in addition to doing this for Chris, this is actually a sideways way of also doing this for Liz.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
Liz loves
I think
herself some
Chris
French
is on my side.
extremism. This is also this is all. I'd say it's a bit of a bull baiting thing on Chris's side to see what I'm going to do on my because I'm not.
Yeah,
really the
to
French
get Eric
extremist.
to watch Martyrs is probably what he did.
But wait, did you watch it, or should we even disclose that?
Well, I'm not going to disclose
okay,
anything.
okay,
We'll see what
okay.
you guys mention.
All right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. I did all French films for our holiday episode. I did
Père
for our
Noël,
director's
yeah.
showcase. I did Pascal Logier,
Yeah. Yeah.
where most of his are in French, but some are in English.
Right.
I have a dead list of the top 10 French language films because I got some Belgian hits in there because France and Belgium, since they're right next door, they do a lot of co-productions. So you're always going to see those. I have Martyrs on the top of my top 25 list. And I don't know. I like them because it's a good way to practice my French and be like, ooh, I understood that without reading the subtitles. I could go into the other room and still get what was going on. So
Can you
I just like 'em.
actually is your French good enough to actually be able to sit down and watch a French foreign language film, no captions, and kind of understand what's happening?
kind of. And if I could slow it down, then I could probably get most of it.
Okay.
If they
okay.
speak too fast.
Okay. Now, have you ever seen the first, not only one of the first horror films of all time, one of the first films of all time, the first horror film ever made is a French film. Did you guys know this? 1896,
Whoa.
The Haunted Castle, also known as House of the Devil.
Oh.
True story.
Ty West, total ripoff artist.
Tyrese,
I know,
I'm a
huh?
total ripoff artist. Yeah, it's a 1896. It's a 3-minute short film. The Manor of Diable. And it was directed by Georges Méliès. I'm
Oh
totally
wow!
butchering
Wow,
that.
George
That's right.
Méliès. Good, that's the From the Earth to
they're
the Moon.
From
Yeah.
France,
Who's
Yeah.
like the man?
Right, and so many people consider it to be the first horror film ever made. First,
really?
not just first French language film, but first horror movie. This is where it all started.
Crazy.
Yeah. Now, have you guys seen it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
look
I
it
mean,
up.
come on. Liz,
Get to it.
Liz doesn't watch silent movies.
It's on my list. No, it's not.
Is
on my
it
list.
available to watch on the internet? on
Yeah,
YouTube?
you can find copies of
Okay.
it. Yeah. Yep.
Then I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm interested to see what you guys picked because this definitely is my bag. I picked 3 films that I not only have never talked about, this is the first time I've seen them, and I'm gonna rank them in order of extremity. We'll start off.
Did you do? And so you did all extreme horror?
No,
Okay.
I just tried to do all new. I wanted to give something for people to watch. Here, you know what? A lot of the French extreme films that I haven't seen is because they have a lot of rape revenge films over there in France.
They sure do.
And that's not my big thing.
And actually, another one of the movies that I thought about including, but I forgot that it's
Revenge.
Revenge. French movie done in
yeah.
English.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
good. Rape revenge movie. That's actually, I think it
Yeah,
sets
like,
it sets a high standard for it, but it's a hard watch.
Sure.
Saint, what was the other one? 29 Palms. That's one too.
Mhm.
And that's like French Deliverance, but
Mhm.
it's in English.
So you know how I normally say, okay, up next we'll cover that topic. I don't think
Not this
we'll be.
topic.
Yeah, rape revenge
No,
films.
it's
We're
not-
gonna pass. Gonna pass. Scariest thing
No,
says.
thank you.
So Mike,
no, thank you.
so Mike, how does your roster shape up in sort of roughly speaking, like what?
Well, because I was very deficient in French foreign language films, I tried to cover the whole gamut. I did watch some Pascal Laugier per Liz because I know she's a big fan. I liked everything I saw. Although he does, I think obviously his more famous films are in English, but I covered stuff 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and beyond.
Okay.
I tried to cover the widest possible range of French foreign language because I didn't know what I was getting into. So I picked a pretty broad sampling of French foreign language.
Okay. I also did. I did a lot more watching, and I actually, because I've been my internet has been crippled. I've been going down to Movie Madness and picking up
there you go.
DVDs.
Unfortunately, there is a French horror section, and it's only one row.
I know.
And it was like,
I know.
it's a little
That's
light.
because it's probably spread through everywhere.
I will tell
else.
you one movie that is not on the list, which they
Ooh.
had multiple DVDs of.
What?
Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, La Pac de Loup.
God,
Wait,
it's a beautiful movie. But
I have a soft spot for that movie. It's
Oh.
not very good, but I remember seeing it in the theater with my friend Dave.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, I think he listens. And we were like, this isn't great, but I came out and I was like, man, but the sound was so good. And it won like an Academy Award for sound
yeah,
direction.
and
that
it
year or
looks,
something.
it's a sumptuous
It looks
movie, but it's just like
It's not good.
the acting was so bad, and they had the Iron Chef, the what is it, John Dos Cascos playing a Mohawk, and the guy's Filipino, I think. It's like, come on. But,
All right. Well, instead of talking about what you shouldn't see, let's talk about what you should
Yeah.
see.
So
Because I have a whole list
Yeah.
of stuff you shouldn't see.
Yeah, I've got an absurdist one, I've got an action one, and I've got an extreme one.
All right.
All right.
So
Liz, you want to lead us off? Tell
I
us
will
tell us
kick it
where we
off.
should start with
Yeah.
French foreign language horror.
Okay. I will kick it off with a 2020 film called La Nuit, The Swarm. This is available for you to see on Netflix. And this is kind of a little bit out of my comfort zone of what I really watch. So this is directed by Juste Philippot, and it stars Sirlane Brahman, Sofiane Kam, and Marie Narbonne. Okay, this is about a single mother named Virginie who lives in rural France with her 2 kids, and she's been trying to raise locusts for protein as like alternate food sources for humans one day and like livestock.
yeah, I like where this is going.
Yeah,
This is
it's-
food
her
and
daughter's
insect
like,
horror.
Yeah.
yeah. Her daughter's like, "Oh, mom, you're so embarrassing," like all this, and so she's struggling to make ends meet. These locusts are not, I guess, reproducing, making enough locusts to keep her. I mean, she's harvesting them, she's cooking them and grinding them up. So, she's in the locust tent one day, cuts herself, falls over, it's kind of passed out. And when she wakes up, there's locusts on her. And now they have had a taste for human blood.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. The tables have turned.
The tables have turned. And as the locusts are now multiplying at an alarming rate and getting bigger, she has to continue to supply them with blood, and insect horror ensues. The scariest thing about this movie is the sound of the locust. Oh God! If you're a bug person, then maybe you'll like this. But oh God, I was like chills up and down my spine every time she went into this tent, because they're like in hanging bags. The bags look like those heavyweight boxing bags, but instead of being filled with what are they put in there, it's filled with locusts. Just swarming around, shaking the bags, and oh my God, it's gross. And
But are the
bloody.
locusts like controlling her mind?
No, I would
No.
like that, but
Okay.
no, they're
Okay.
not. They are
Okay.
just
It's not a hive
hungry
mind
for
thing.
blood. They
Yeah.
don't care where they get it from.
Okay.
And of course, they're going to get out because they're the swarm.
Ooh,
Yeah. Well,
nice.
when wasn't there?
Yeah.
There was a 1970s movie called The Swarm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's called
yeah,
The
we
Swarm.
talked about
Yeah.
that on
There
insect
was
horror.
the
Yeah.
bees, right?
No, bees is a totally different one. Yeah,
But what was it a swarm of? Was it?
It was a swarm of bees, but the bees is a different one. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, this is Locust, and this one is available on Netflix, and it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you like, kind of more creature feature type things.
Is it locust or locusts?
Or loci.
Or loci?
Loci? Don't know.
Okay.
It's
I'm saying
I think
locusts.
I think,
Locusts,
yeah,
okay.
I would guess so too.
Okay.
But if it's
There's
in
a
French,
whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
you drop the T.
Yeah.
No, you just don't pronounce. Yeah, don't pronounce the T.
I don't know the French word for locust. I do not know. It's really good, and the actress who plays the mom is also the star of a series that I put on one of my top 10 lists of like international series called Zone Blanc, which means white zone, but they really mean like black zone where you don't have a cell phone signal. Lost in translation
cool.
there.
Okay.
Well, that is a classic trope of, hey, my phone doesn't work.
Yeah,
My phone
yeah,
doesn't
for
work.
sure.
Yeah.
That's
Bring on
a
horror.
baseline criteria for a lot of horror movies. It's like we're gonna cut you off from your connection.
Yeah,
to the
you
world.
gotta cut someone off. All right. Who's up next?
Eric says I am. So it's them in French. Would that be
Il.
Il?
Zim.
Il. So this is a 2006 French-Romanian horror film directed by David Moreau and Xavier Palou. This, of course, is Them, and I loved it. I loved everything about this film. I don't know if you guys saw it. I loved even just the opening title card, which is a total throwback to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where they tell you that this is based on real events.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as the film tells me that, I am in. I'm a sucker for that. Over and over and over and over. And the funny thing is, speaking of not having cell coverage, the film starts with a mother and daughter out driving in a deserted country road at night. The car goes off the road. The mother and daughter are arguing. The daughter tries to call out, but the call is she's not able to complete the call. There are strangers that attack the car, and she is strangled to death. Fast forward some time, and Olivia Bonamy, who plays Clementine, she's a young teacher. She's recently moved from France to a remote country house near Bucharest, Romania. Mm-hmm. Her and her lover, Lucas, played by Michael Cohen, are simply sitting at home. I mean, the film is very much like The Strangers. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of lead up to it. There's not a lot of exposition.
Did we talk about this in our home invasion one? Was Il's?
We talked about it. I have it on my top 10 list of French language films.
Okay.
And
we might have talked about it in Home
did
Invasion.
talk about it, but I can't remember.
Might have been Home Invasion. I hadn't seen it.
Mm-hmm. I think it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it really is the perfect home invasion film. Mm-hmm. It is a really, really incredible film, and I'm not going to spoil.
Yes, we did.
Who? Oh, we did. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not going to spoil who is, and hopefully you didn't either,
no.
Liz, when we talked about this previously. No. Who spilled a spoil? I'm not going to spoil who is the home invader, but the home invader is actually quite surprising, and it's a little shocking.
Does it make sense in context? Did they build it up properly?
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's true.
Yeah.
I did some research to be like, what, really? And
well, the one thing I read said, yeah, it's a true story. It's supposedly based on a story involving an Austrian couple who were murdered by 3 teenagers while vacationing in the Czech Republic, but according to the internet, there was no concrete evidence that's emerged to prove the tale exactly.
Of course.
So it might be like Texas Chainsaw in that
urban legend.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, that was about Ed Gein, and Ed Gein was not in Texas, and he was not part of a family.
Yeah, loosely adapted.
There's a wide swath of territory based on.
Right.
We got the names right.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that I did read one review. I think it was on Rotten Tomatoes, and they said that them proves that a lack of gore does not mean a dearth of scares, and it's totally true because there's no gore in this film, and it's all tension, much built up in the same way The Strangers is built up. But it's I think out of all the films, and we'll talk about the other films I saw, I think this is probably my favorite of all the French foreign language films I saw.
Okay.
Them, 2006.
Cool.
All right. Well, for mine, I'm going with a name that may be familiar to you, Quentin Dupieux, who is the director of Rubber.
Right.
and mandibles.
Right.
He is an absurdist.
Yeah.
And this is Deerskin from 2019. Have you heard of Deerskin?
No.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
It is weird and it's fun and it gets and for a while there, this is another one of those kinds of movies akin to something like Audition. It's like, where's the horror going to start? And then it comes, right? But it doesn't have sort of that fourth wall winky kind of a thing that Rubber did.
Yeah.
Where it's very self-conscious about it. This one's just throughout it's a weird story. But I think he borrows a lot from I like it because he follows in the footsteps of the European New Wave directors like Jean-Luc Godard, to a degree, Francois Truffaut, who actually Quentin Tarantino says is a hack, and Federico Fellini, who's Italian, of course, but all these kinds of things where it's this highly expressive, almost to the point of being silly stuff. And the story is there's this odd down on his luck man, Georges, who has been kicked out of his house by his wife. He's pretty much broke because he went out and he bought himself a deerskin jacket for over 7,000 euros. And he's obsessed with this thing. It's got tassel fringes and it looks like something coming out of.
It's a sweet jacket.
Yeah. It's a killer style is what he refers to.
It's White Snake appropriate.
Yeah. And so he thinks it makes himself. I mean, he's this kind of a schlubby middle-aged guy,
but it's set in the present day.
Yeah, and he's headed to, like, I think probably the French Alps in this remote town, and he's staying at this lodge, and he doesn't have anything. He's a loser. He doesn't have anything. He has no skills. Mm-hmm. But along with the guy he bought the jacket from also gave him a video recorder, a cassette video recorder. Mm-hmm. Right. And so he goes to a bar and he's just hanging out, and these two women, he goes, are you admiring my style? And it's like, no, what do you do? I'm a director. And he's like, and it's like, he's not a director. He doesn't know what he's doing. But he ends up actually just having conversations with his jacket, filming himself talking with the jacket. And the jacket has been talking back to him, telling him that it wants to be the only jacket in the world, and is its desire to have all other jackets eliminated and destroyed.
Oh my God, I gotta see this.
And so it goes back to
is the jacket ominous?
No. It's not. The thing that's ominous is
a brown suede tassel jacket.
And he's talking. Clearly, he's talking to himself. He's nuts, right? But in his mind, he's talking that he thinks the jacket's telling him things.
Does he seem ominous or nuts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not ominous. He's
just
weird.
Okay.
He's a weird guy.
Okay.
And he's cringy.
Yeah.
Right, because then he comes up to the barmaid and who's Denise, played by Adele Haenel, and she said, and she goes, hey director, and he goes, and she tells him that she has some amateur editing skills and she'd love to edit his movie. And he was like, well, I don't know, maybe. And she goes, just send me the tapes. And then he gives him the tapes, and it's just him, talking to the chair,
right,
and then putting on the jacket and preening.
Right.
And so it's like, well, she thought it was kind of weird, but eventually the jacket he starts interpreting the jacket wants more. And so he starts getting out there, and he doesn't have any money, so he convinces Denise that she needs to empty out her bank account so that he can get money for the movie production.
Nice.
Because his producers are in Siberia and they can't give him the money.
Right.
And what he does is he gets money, and then he pays people to look into the camera and say, I will never wear a jacket again in my entire life. And they take their jackets off, and a pile of jackets, and they stuff them in the trunk. And then he gives them some money, and they say, okay, give me my jackets back. And he goes, no. And he drives away with the jackets, which is all. And so it's just kind of weird like that. But then eventually it comes to the fact where the people start saying, no, I don't want to give you my jacket.
Right.
And so then he goes, oh, you're going to give me your jacket.
Yeah.
And then he starts killing people to get their jackets.
Oh, no.
And then and it's sort of this kind of a thing where he's just, and at first he keeps it kind of quiet on the down low.
Yeah.
And then he shows it to Denise, starts watching it, and she has either a sick streak or she thinks it's special effects or something because she's not.
Yeah.
But she goes, we should get more of this kind of stuff.
She's watching the killings.
She's watching the killings.
Oh my gosh.
And then he just goes,
Denise,
and then it was like, tops off the bottle. Here we go. I'm going on a killing spree with he makes his big blade out of the ceiling fan. And he just starts going to town on the locals, and there's just like just decimating the local population.
Is he wearing the jacket while he's doing?
Oh,
the killing?
Absolutely. And then and she buys him like,
of course,
matching pants.
I don't know if he didn't want to like sully the jacket.
Well, he gets very nervous about it. Like he starts putting a plastic parka over top of his jacket so he doesn't get the blood on it. It is wild. It's weird. It's one of the weird. It's as the story goes, it's about as weird as you get.
Yeah.
But it is.
Well,
it's
he's
fun.
Famously
for being weird. Yeah.
Actually saw his latest. He's got another one coming out later this year, but his one, Incredible But True, was just at Fantasia. Did not review it because it is not horror at all, but it's about people who buy a house. In the basement is a time portal where you go forward in time 12 hours, but your body goes back in time 3 days. So a lady thinks she's going to get younger and become a model and live out her dreams by going in and out of the thing.
This guy's imagination is so wild. Depew is just... Because for those of you who don't know, we've talked about Rubber a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
That's a killer tire.
It's a killer, a tire with psychokinetic like killing abilities.
Right.
Yep.
And then he did one called Mandibles, which I reviewed for, I think it was Popcorn Frights a couple years ago, which had two idiot characters raising this housefly the size of a dog.
Right.
Packing it around with them and trying to, it was just that, again, weird stuff. Quentin Depew, it's an acquired taste. His movies kind of like desaturated and bleached out. It's almost from the Wes Anderson school of stuff.
Sure.
Right, in the way that it looks. But yeah, for those of you who can handle a little bit of weird absurdism, check out Deerskin.
Yep. All right.
I'm going to check that one out for sure. Okay. My next film is increasing in intensity. And when I was watching this, I was like, this is kind of like adulting horror. This is like what scares you now that you're a homeowner and people who are like married with kids and dealing with the day in, day out of life. And this film is available on Netflix under the title of Get In, but it's called Fury in French. And Get In doesn't really make any sense. Fury makes a lot more sense. Okay. And this is written and directed by Oliver Abu. And this stars Adima Nian as Paul and Stephanie Calliard as Chloe. And these are the Diallos. They're a husband and wife who are going on, or they go on like a caravanning vacation, and they let their school-age child's teacher and her husband stay in their house for the 2 months that they are on the road in their camper. And when they get back, the teacher and her husband will not leave, and they now have asserted their squatters' rights on their house. So these people are living in their camper now down at a trailer park, who's run by the wife's ex-boyfriend from high school, trying to figure out how to get these people out of their house. Now you've got the guy who runs the trailer park, and he's, a macho guy covered in tattoos, used to date the girl in high school. And he's talking to the husband. He's like, man, you did this to yourself. You're being a victim. You got to be a man. You got to stand up. You got to do this. And they form this friendship of, the husband is kind of a meek guy. He's a teacher. He's not a tough, hard drinking guy who like this other man, but he's being egged on by this guy and his friends to do something about it and get these people out of his house. And it does not go well. This has been, he said it was inspired by 1970s psychological thrillers, and most notably Straw Dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yikes.
Yeah.
it doesn't go there. That would not be why I would recommend this film.
Are there any cats in the film?
No.
Okay,
no.
Good.
It doesn't go Straw Dogs intensity, but it is really, really good. And just imagine going on vacation, telling your friend they can stay at your house. Like, yeah, just pay my cable bill and keep the lights on. That's your rent. And they're like, oh, well, now we have squatters' rights at your place and you can't come back. So, and you're dealing with that. It is so uncomfortable. The tension, it's really, really, really good. And it ratchets up to an 11 at the end.
I can totally see how the anxiety of, it's like, hey guys, come on. It's like, no, nope.
Yeah.
and then it's like, because you could put yourself, like you were saying, it's a relatable thing. It's like that because it's a betrayal. Right. And what do you do? Like if I invited Mike to take care of the Kirby dog. And then Mike just goes.
And then Mike was like, no, I'm not leaving.
I'm taking your dog. And it's like, no, come on, man. Give me my dog back.
But I took care of it for 2 months and bought the dog food. So technically it's mine
now.
Yeah.
As long as your dog continues to pee on my feet, you can keep your dog.
I'll keep that he's been trained to do that. I hope you know that. So, but you only.
Right.
That's Mike pee on his feet.
This film is really, really good. I definitely recommend it. It's on Netflix. It's from 2019, and on Netflix, it's called Get In. I can only think they called it that because
Get out.
The tough guy says to the husband one time, like, get in, man. Like, we're going to rip shit up. And
and it doesn't go well.
I don't know. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, and you can't. And there's another movie called Fury, so that's trying to.
That's the Brian.
Well, this is Fury. F-U-R-I-E.
No, the Brian De Palma film.
French.
Oh, there's been multiple Furies.
There's the Brian De Palma horror film, which I reviewed for the Scariest Things podcast. 1T. From 1977.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
All right. Next film I am going to talk about is a little film from 1955, which many people think is the precursor to the French New Wave movement. This is Les Diaboliques.
Oh, yes.
Good
released in the United States as Diabolique.
Wow, that's a rough translation.
The thing that was interesting to me because it's really plays more to the thriller side than the horror side, I guess in the contemporary sense. But I thought one of the really interesting things was that after the film, the book was written, or the screenplay was written. That the French director Henry Georges Clouzot, he optioned the screenplay, effectively preventing Alfred Hitchcock from making the film because Alfred Hitchcock apparently was very, very interested in the screenplay. And a lot of people think that this was in part what helped inspire Psycho. In fact, Robert Bloch, who is the author of the novel Psycho, credited Diabolique as his all-time favorite horror film.
Oh.
Which I thought that was kind of an interesting little twist. But the film itself involves this boarding school in France that's run by this really tyrannical and horrible individual, Michel de la Salle. Even though the boarding school is owned by his wife, he is cheating on his wife with one of the other teachers at the boarding school. But here's the interesting thing. So instead of the wife being pissed about the whole thing, she and one of the other teacher that he is having the affair with, they decide to sort of team up and slowly but surely pick away at the husband. However, unbeknownst to the wife, who has a whole series of ailments and heart problems and everything else, it's really the mistress and the husband that are the ones that have a plot against her. I think I can say this now that the film's from 1955.
Yeah,
so I think
spoilers on a 70-year-old film.
We can have spoilers on a 70-year-old film. The film concludes in a really, really shocking scene, which I think is where the horror comes. Basically, he is lying in a the two women they plot to kill the husband. The tables are turned against the wife. The husband does not die, but she is led to believe he is dead. He is lying in a bathtub, apparently drowned, but in fact he is fully alive. He effectively raises from the dead. She is so shocked by it, she has a heart attack and dies. There's a Scooby-Doo moment at the end of the film where the Inspector Clouseau, comes in and says, "Oh, you will do 15 to 20 years for this." You know, they are caught immediately. They don't get away with the crime.
Well, that's still the Hays Code in effect, because
Right.
criminals could not get away with the crime.
Right, exactly.
During the Hays Code.
Exactly. But here, the really great thing about the film, I love the very last bit of the film is that there's a little boy at the school. He's playing with a slingshot, and he said, when asked, like, where did you get this? He says, "Oh, Christina," who's the woman who died of the heart attack. He says, "Oh, Christina gave it to me." Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, so it is. I will tell you, it is a very, very slow burn. If you are used to only watching contemporary films and you have no stomach for the 1950s, then stay the hell away from this film. If you have an open mind and are willing to try something a little different.
If you like the Golden Age stuff.
Yeah, if you like the Golden Age stuff and you want a slightly different take on horror, this is a really great film. And by all accounts, I mean, the guy who friggin' wrote Psycho says it's his all-time favorite horror film of all time. So guess what? It's a horror film.
Yeah, 5 years later, Psycho,
sure.
Right?
Yeah. 5 years. Yeah, 5 years later, Psycho. Yep.
Did you watch? Didn't they remake this with?
They did with Sharon Stone. Yeah, I did not. I did not watch the remake. No. I stayed the hell away from the remake. Yeah, and I've never seen the remake. Never saw the remake.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Diabolique, 1955.
Diabolique.
All right, so my second film is I didn't realize that it was a French film because I'd seen some advertisements for it when sort of it was on my Amazon watch list. And then it's like, it's French, and then I realized, oh, they did a dub version. It's like, well, I'm going to watch the French version.
Yeah.
And this is an action horror movie called High Lane, which is
Is there a gas station?
No, no gas station. Sadly, one of my favorite tropes. No, this is a climbing rock climbing horror movie. There are a group of 5 young French. Very pretty. This is sort of a classic. This is, if The Hills Have Eyes was French, this is kind of what they would do. So they had there's this group who heads out to Slovakia. Right, because the French probably go, Slovakia, that's like essentially West Virginia.
Right.
Which is no slight to either Slovakia or West Virginia, but
France.
Or France.
France, but that's big like a connection between like American hillbilly horror and French hillbilly horror. And I was reading some stuff about it, and they were saying, like, with Appalachia here, or Appalachia, French settlers, things like that. So maybe dig into that.
So Chloe, Loïc, Guillaume, Fred, who gets, they yell Fred a lot because Fred is he's the lead climber. He's the most athletic. He's the one who goes, we're going to climb this route. It's like, looks like they closed this route. Why did they close the route? Oh no, it's perfectly safe. Let's do this. Let's do this route. And Karine, who's his girlfriend, but there's a love triangle between the other 3. But really, these are all cardboard cutout characters. This is not about the characters. This is about the action and what's going to happen to them. So what it does feature is some absolutely awesome climbing scenes, and because I'm a gym climber,
right,
and I watch these. It's like, and you're watching the anchors, and the anchors giving way, or they're crossing this real rickety. I did a long time ago when I did the A Bridge Too Far graphic where it shows a rickety bridge. There's a rickety bridge that looks just like that goes across a canyon. Yeah. It's like, it's cables and these wood planks, and they have to walk across. And of course, one of the guys who's doing the climb, Loïc, is a scaredy cat. Yeah. And he's only doing it because he's in love with one of the girls, Chloe, who also is in love, and there's Guillaume who's also in love with her, and so there's this competition. And Guillaume's this guy who looks like a young Vin Diesel. He's big, kind of strapping guy.
Yeah.
And Loic is the meeker guy.
Sure.
And so you as soon as this movie opens up, you're trying to figure out who's going to die first, right?
Right.
And eventually, so all kinds of mishaps happen where they can't turn back because the bridge falls apart in a very exciting scene. It's a great visual. And then they're like, there's a lot of moments where they're hanging from the side of the cliff going, oh my God, somebody pick me up. So there's the survival horror part of it. And then there's the freak with the crossbow and the bear traps who they run into, who is just this weirdo loner in the top of in the mountains. And they think that he's a poach, because one of the characters gets hit by the bear trap.
Okay.
And then they go, well, go get help. And then they leave away, and then he gets hauled away. And they go, where'd he go? And then they're running around, and there's
it's really French wrong turn.
It might be French wrong.
Yeah.
It's probably closer to French wrong turn than Hills Have Eyes because there's no radioactivity.
Sure.
But it's like
with a little bit of the descent, only they're on the outside of the
exactly. This is the inverse of the descent.
Sprinkled with wrong turn.
Right, sprinkled with wrong turn.
Yeah.
And so they're of course it becomes an elimination game as freaky guy in the woods starts claiming victims, and they're not to find a point on it, but they need somebody who can figure out how to navigate their way out of this situation, and they're screwed.
Right.
And and they're on. It's like and there seems to be traps all over the place. It is a fun. In the way that something like Wrong Turn is fun.
Sure.
Right.
So it's like survival horror.
It is survival horror and hillbilly horror.
Sure.
Wrapped into one.
Okay.
And so this is one for those of you who don't want to think too much with your horror movies.
Hell
and just want to see some action and bloodshed. And and some pretty people doing some actually the climbing is great too. Because you watch and it's like they probably hired these people because they were climbers first.
They would climb.
And they're acting second. I got a kick out of it. This was, and again, I had this on my Amazon Reserve because I thought, it's like, a climbing horror movie, go figure.
Right.
And I'm a sucker for survival horror stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this one,
what year was this again?
This is 2009.
2009.
Okay.
Yes.
And it was called
High Lane.
High Lane, yes.
It's kind of an
And
awkward
there's no
kind of a
gas
thing
stations.
as opposed to Slovakia Hillbilly.
Yeah.
Which would have been, I think, I may not have drawn in the kind of attention, but it's got a great poster. So yeah,
A
it's
French
fun.
movie that doesn't make you think.
Yeah.
That's a rarity.
It is.
There
I
it
mean,
is.
and that was
We're
I had to throw out a lowbrow one out there. After going, so we went the goofy, absurd one, and then you get your more conventional movie, and then we'll get to my next one.
Okay.
Liz.
All right.
We're going to leave. They don't have to think about it and go into something you're going to have to think about. This is one of the, first in the new French extremity horror movement. This is 2002's Dans ma peau, In My Skin. Okay. This is written, directed, and starring Marina Devan. And she plays a woman named Esther who has a job. She's got a great boyfriend played by Laurent Lucas, who is legally required to be in 70% of the French movies. And, she has like a pretty good social life. And she goes to a party one night and she's in the backyard of the party and trips over some like building supplies and cuts her leg, like really bad, has a big gash in her leg. But she doesn't really realize it. I don't know if it's because she's had a couple cocktails or whatever. But after the party, she starts like looking at her wound and kind of really getting in there, wondering why it doesn't hurt, and is not in a rush to run to the hospital and get stitches. But she does go to the doctor, and the doctor is like, yeah, I don't even know why you didn't feel this. And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, okay. And so then she starts picking at it and cutting some other parts of her body.
Oh, no.
So she becomes obsessed with, self-mutilation to the point that it takes over her life, her job, cuts her off from her boyfriend, and this one just devolves into a
How much you got left in your body?
how much you got left. Yeah, a little blood fest.
No.
So when we were doing this, I was like, all right, I've heard about this movie. I've got to watch it. I'm going to be honest. It is a very, very, very slow burn. Like I think in our text I said I might not pick it because I'm bored. The last 15 minutes made up for the first, I don't know how long this movie is, hour and a half. It's kind of a talker. Like there's a scene where she's at this work dinner, which is actually a great scene, but you're just watching her picking at her legs underneath the table and trying to avoid. It's very uncomfortable. It's very gross. It's very bloody. And it's, feminist new French extreme horror.
Wow.
If you want to get into the new French extreme, this would probably be the least extreme because they're not going to be,
as opposed to
there's no torture.
There's no punching a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
No punching a pregnant woman. No skinning someone alive.
No rape revenge.
Brutal rape revenge. Yeah. So this is just a lady cutting herself.
I think this one did not come. This was not on my radar at all when I was researching French horror. So that is good.
It's hard to get a hold of as well. You guys will probably get it because of Movie Madness. Sure. I found it on air quotes the internet. So it's not streaming anywhere really.
Okay.
You went to the dark web. And dug it out from some
as close to the dark web
grimy,
as I'll go.
Yeah. You better scan your computer for viruses.
Yep. No, I found it. There's a site called Effed Up Movies where you can watch Effed Up Movies. That's where you can find it.
You want to see a woman pick at her scabs?
Make sure your pop-up blocker is
that'll be our next episode is Fucked Up Movies.
Effed Up Movies. Yeah. I'll do that one.
Yep. I think Chris would appreciate that too.
Yeah. All right, so that is my top choice.
This one is not terribly effed up, although there is a lot of body horror in this one. And this is what is often, true story, referred to as the French 28 Days Later. This is, and gosh, I'm going to totally blank on the year it was made. I want to say 2008. This is a French science fiction horror film called Mutants. This is directed by filmmaker David Morlet. Stars Helene de Farrell and Diderot and Francois.
It's horrible. We apologize in advance for all that.
Sorry, France. It's basically a zombie film, and it starts off much in the same way or as a very similar pacing as 28 Days Later, although it's probably more closely aligned to Dawn of the Dead in that it does come across very quick, and the zombies are moving very quick. They're bloodthirsty zombie creatures. These are fast-moving zombies.
28 Days Later also had fast zombies. So it's the same. But But were they dead or were they infected?
Well, these are more. I would say they're probably on the infected side. In fact, that is a great question because that is really the centerpiece of the film is the infection because the film focuses around a couple. Marco and Sonia, who are fleeing, obviously, the mutants. And they're trying to fight their way to a military base. Marco becomes infected. Sonia is pregnant. And the two of them find this weird sort of hospital-type compound and are able to barricade themselves in there. And so it really is around the whole story revolves around the infection, but it's basically a love story between the two of them. And the thing I really liked about it is it plays kind of in the same way like you think a virus would actually play, right? So it's like your fever goes up, your fever goes down. You get a little sick, you get a little better. It's these kind of ebbs and flows as opposed to
instant
I'm a zombie.
Well, and then there are. I mean, in Dawn of the Dead, it's depending on the level of the bite, it's
Right.
it takes a while to metastasize. You kind of I don't feel so good.
Right.
But where there are some things like Train to Busan where it's like nibble nibble zombie.
Yeah.
You're a zombie, yeah.
5 seconds later.
Yeah.
Right. So she, because of the sort of the ebb and flow of the virus, she believes that she's immune because she's obviously been around Marco, and she is convinced that she can cure Marco through repeated blood transfusions, and she hopes that her blood will sort of bring him back. And so she's in the process of both A, fighting off the zombies, B, fighting off intruders, trying to work their way to the military base, and caring for Marco, as he goes back and forth between being himself and then screaming up and down the hallways, completely naked, covered in blood. And it does. It's a pretty dark film, but it's an interesting watch. And I will say, because I think the zombie genre is one that has pretty well been tapped out.
Mm-hmm.
This is a wrinkle on the zombie story that I've never quite exactly seen, and so I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I really did appreciate it, and it's a really solid. It's a really solidly made film, and it's interesting and it's exciting.
Yeah, well, I think with zombie movies, and this one sounds like it plays right into the strength of what you want to do. Is you take a couple of characters and you put them in isolation,
Right.
in a world that's completely come apart,
Right.
Yeah.
And that is the essence of the modern zombie movie,
Right.
and
But you also throw in just a dash of hope,
Right.
Like there is a chance that they can make it out if
that's 28 days later,
right.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
28 days later. It's certainly sort of Dawn of the Dead, like Day of the Dead,
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
And granted, I mean, some of these things, it's like, is there going to be a cure or what's going on? And
Yeah.
I think
Right.
that some of these things are just like quarantines and whatnot. But then they always leave themselves. Zombie movies always open themselves for, and one of the zombies got loose,
Right.
And then it's like, and we're going to sequel. But when
Right.
was this done?
That's what that's funny. It's funny you say that. I was just looking up mutants. I think I want.
Where do you catch this? It's streaming?
No, I think I watched it through our good friends at Movie Madness.
Madness.
2009. This is a 2009 film. You can watch it on Amazon if you
Oh, cool.
so
Right.
choose.
That sounds
Yeah.
good.
And there was another
Mutants.
saw another one movie, and we talked about this briefly before we started up.
Yeah.
A French zombie movie, but it's in English, so it didn't really count as French language. But
Oh, yeah.
The Night Eats the World.
Yep.
I thought was a beautiful sort of exploration of one person holding out against the apocalypse, and
Yeah.
in almost like what's the it was more vampires than zombies. The Will Smith I Am
yeah.
Legend,
Yeah.
Oh, I Am
kind of a thing where
Legend,
you're
yeah.
Based
where
on
it's
the
like
Vincent Price.
Matheson.
The last
Matheson's
man,
story.
on,
Man on Earth.
Yeah.
And so it had very much felt like that. It was sad,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a little spark of hope at the end. But it looked great because it was Paris.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
And nobody gets slapped.
no, yeah, no.
Sorry.
It's like-
Sorry. Just had to.
It's like that's the way
Too
Will
soon.
Smith takes on the vampires, slap the shit out of you.
Slaps them one at a time.
So
I think we could sell that.
yeah,
Chris Rock will do it. His next Saw movie.
yeah. So for my third movie, there were a lot of candidates for this. I thought about going with Climax, the Gaspar Noé movie with the dance plus LSD plus chaos.
But
that was
Have you seen that? You
just
saw-
did
Yeah.
just for this.
Did you like? I was like, eh.
I love
I liked it.
I love
Did you?
dance and I
Okay.
thought, but it was, and all the camera trickery, and it was you walk into it and you go, it's I'm gonna go on this like a music video on a bad trip is what
Right.
what it felt like.
Right.
I also watched Calvaire.
Real bad.
Oh yeah,
So-
you finally watched
yeah,
it.
Yeah, so Calvaire, that was good.
Are you scare the hell out of you?
No.
No, what?
But I liked it.
Okay.
Did
I put on my dead list about that I
Yeah.
said, about Calvaire, I said, this is not an ordinary bridge too far for me. It's a swinging rope bridge over the Grand Canyon. This movie, like, this is hillbilly horror.
Yeah.
No, you didn't find it scary at all?
I found
and it's hillbilliest.
I found it sad and frustrating for Laurent Lucas. Right?
Yeah.
It's come on, catch a break. Come on.
No way.
And it was like, nope. And but the what was the thing about? They said, something about the piggies.
Yeah.
It's like it's like I forget what there was a great tagline on that, but there's something like
you can't have hillbilly horror without
sex with pigs.
All right, so what did you pick though? This is not what you didn't pick. What did you pick?
So those were a couple of runners
Eric's
up.
plus 5.
No, so I went with a little French Canadian film.
Ooh.
Which happens to be Liz's favorite movie of all time.
What?
It's I watched Martyrs.
What?
So
good job.
Yeah. And so I think this. I don't need to introduce it to Mike and Liz, but we
talked about it in the Smorgasbord episode.
Don't spoil it.
This was my Smorgasbord.
It is. It is. I will give it this much. It's an excellent movie. It is a real hard watch. I didn't enjoy it.
Whoa! Hot take.
I respect the hell out of it, but I did not enjoy it.
Okay.
It put me in a fit of depression.
Yeah.
It was really
worse than Calvaire.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have different things, I guess.
Different triggers.
Tick the box.
I think
No, I said something to the effect. I agree. I said something like it's like going to the Holocaust Museum. You should go do it, but you don't need to go back. Yeah. It's a one-time trip.
Unless you're Liz and that's your.
I've been there more than once.
Back to the well one more time. It's your comfort food.
It is. I love it.
I think that the opening sequence where Marlene Champenois, her character's name is Lucy, when she goes home invasion horror.
Yeah,
and you're going, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing? And then it's like trying and her and you try and find the redemption. It's like she's mad, she's haunted by something. It's like, okay, I kind of get it, but still, does it justify this? And then it's like, oh, it's justified. Okay, well, oh no.
Yeah.
But that's when it flips. That's my favorite thing about this. It 180s.
Yeah,
the story flips to a totally different movie.
It does, and it's remarkable. And it's like the Lucy owns the first half of the movie. Anna owns the second half of the movie.
Right.
Moriana Alaoui, fantastic. Both of these actresses, fantastic. They're magnetic.
Now, Liz, is this still your number one film of all time? Okay, there you go. This is Eric's most depressing film of all time.
It was
like that. Well, we're not going to talk about the ending. I heard in the American remake they changed the ending. I'll never know because I'll never see the movie.
They do.
I think.
This ending leaves it open for both. Mike, when you said you thought The Invitation had a ray of hope at the end, and Eric and I were like, "You're crazy!" Like Martyrs could. It depends on how
you define ray of hope.
Or what that. We'll talk about it offline.
Well, there is something. There is one of the antagonists, who is.
The lady,
what they refer to her as,
like the madam or something.
Yeah, and she issues a cryptic statement. There's a little bit of something that somebody says to something else, and something cryptic gets said, and it's like, and then you go,
Mademoiselle. She's Mademoiselle.
Who looks fantastic. I think she's got a great look, right? The turban and the glasses and the real jowly kind of, and she's menacing without being outright scary.
Catherine Bigon is her name, and unfortunately, she has since passed away.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where, and it has you. It's like, and that was one of those things that it had me sitting afterwards. I was just sitting there for about 15 minutes trying to decompress and figure that out.
Yeah,
right. And I can see how that what is the nature of martyrdom and the ascension, and what are these what are these? What is this cult trying to do? Why are they? He's like, and it makes
Too much spoils.
Yeah.
No, I will say this: it is a real thinker, and I had to go and read up quite a bit about it after I saw it because I think I understood everything that was happening in the film, but there's so many layers to it. You really do need to do a little bit of extra research to fully appreciate what's going on.
Yeah, I think this was one where, with all the talk of torture porn, and this one predates a lot of that stuff. Where this is it's to an end, right? This is
right,
what are they doing?
Torture porn.
In a way, I mean, it's
point.
similar in that it is really hard to watch, and the repetition is really hard to watch, and you're trying to piece it together. What are they doing? What are they? Why are you guys doing this? And then you go and it resolves.
So you're saying it is torture porn, or it's not?
Maybe clearly it's torture.
Okay,
clearly
there's torture.
It's the most torture-y of torture. It is, but I have found that I have a stronger stomach than I anticipated. It made me uncomfortable. I couldn't, but it didn't make me run away from the TV. I thought there was going to be a moment where I just would have to abandon ship.
Right.
But I held on, and it was.
So we're putting this on Eric's films. He's ashamed he's seen.
No. I thought it was. I thought it was an excellent movie.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy it. There's a difference.
Sure.
I think there's a few of these things where, unlike, say, Cannibal Holocaust, where I did not enjoy it.
What?
And I didn't think, and I relative. It's like I just felt that one watching Cannibal Holocaust made me feel dirty. Where this one was just the philosophy behind it. There's a deep sadness in it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And the bonds that Anna and Lucy have is unbreakable.
Yeah.
There was something and we can talk about it afterwards. There were things that I thought were going to happen that did not happen.
Right.
I thought it was setting it up for. There were some things that I thought were going to happen, and I have to say, it's like I wasn't disappointed that it did. I was surprised that it didn't happen, but yeah, resolution. Anyways.
All right,
Martyrs. It's sort of it's a must see. It's one of those ones that you have that for all serious horror fans, you got to get that one under your belt.
Eric Lee says,
for sure.
Date night movie, rush out and watch Martyrs.
Watch it with someone who you love
or hate.
It's on Tubi, and I think it's on Shudder too. But I know it's on Tubi for free.
All right, Liz, let's go down our list of French foreign language films. You go first, Liz.
Started with 2020's La Nuée, The Swarm. Then I have 2019's stupidly named Get In, but in French it's Fury. And 2002's Dans ma peau, In My Skin, as my number one choice.
All right. I started with the 2006 film Them, moved on to the 1955 film Les Diaboliques, and closed out the evening with the 2009 film Mutants.
And so my grab bag was the 2019 Quentin Dupieux absurdist horror film Deerskin, wacky and strange.
Yeah, you had a real grab bag.
I had the 2009 Abel Ferry movie High Lane, which is action survival hillbilly horror. And I close out with the classic French the bar setting French extremism film Martyrs by Pascal Laugier, and and that one will change you. That movie will, like it or not, that movie will change you at least a little.
Yep.
So,
speaking of changing you, there is a film that I didn't talk about, and since we're on to plus ones or plus fives, there's a 1971 film called Don't Deliver Us from Evil, as opposed to Deliver Us from Evil.
Yep.
Don't Deliver Us from Evil. It's not terribly a great film. It involves two young women who are dabbling in Satanism. It's a super slow burn, but Liz, I'm here to tell you there might be a Saint Maud ripoff because it concludes in the exact same way as Saint Maud. So for those of you out there that have listened to the podcast and have gone out and watched Saint Maud, if you liked the ending of Saint Maud, which is pretty damn jarring, check out Don't Deliver Us from Evil, 1971.
And when was this?
1971. Yeah, it's kind of a sort of a loosey-goosey kind of grindhousey, sort of sleazy early 70s French film, but it's pretty decent, and it does the ending is super freaky, really weird, really weird.
Yeah. All right. I want to do a plus one.
Yeah.
Because this is a cool little mystery thriller that I've had on my Netflix watch list for quite a while and said, let me just get in here and do it. And it's called La Femme la plus assassinée du monde, the most assassinated woman in the world. And this is a movie that is loosely based on the real life of Paula Maxa, who is an actress in the Grand Guignol Theater in Paris. And the Grand Guignol Theater was a theater that before the cinema put on naturalistic horror shows that the audience would go to, and they'd, put like sheets over themselves or in the front row because you're going to get splattered with blood. And what I liked about this movie is they're talking about the depraved people who are going to this and sitting in here and watching it. I was like, hey, that's us. Before we had the movies, we would be sitting in there. But this is like a fictitious, thing where they're saying there's also a killer stalking the streets of Paris who's obsessed with the actress. But it had some cool historical, plot points and worth checking out if you're into horror. It's more of a thriller, but there's definitely lots of blood and gore.
What was this? Right. What was this one again?
It's on stage.
The most
assassinated woman in the world because she is killed 10,000 times on stage.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do, and I've talked about these movies plenty, but they are, if you're talking French horror, High Tension, and Raw. We've got plenty of
my
that kind of stuff.
dead list.
There you go.
Yeah, my dead
check out
list.
Liz's
I'll
dead
stand
list.
by it. Yeah, because it's Martyrs, À l'intérieur, High Tension, Il, Frontiers. I put Raw on there for Eric.
Yay.
Climax, Trouble Every Day, and then Alleluia and Calvaire from
Okay,
Belgium.
I was going to say, did you have Calvaire in there?
There you go.
Okay.
Good list.
So I'm going to take the opportunity also because we are approaching, by the time this thing gets recorded, we're going to be closing in on Halloween season. I'd like to remind everybody
to go see Halloween Ends. Thank you, Eric. All right.
No, that is not. No, there's.
Wait, what?
Want to talk about one of our sponsors here, Atmos FX.
Yeah.
And this is the time if you want to start setting up your Halloween gear is to get yourself an Atmos FX projector and a bunch of projecting ghosts and zombies and and singing pumpkins. It is you can get a discount if you use Scariest Things, and you can find the advertisements on our site, Atmos FX. Some of the if you want to upstage the entire neighborhood on your Halloween night, get yourself one of their digital projectors and their animations. It will change the way that you prep for Halloween for sure.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
So
Love it.
so I think also going to close out here with a tagline from Martyrs.
Oh no.
Which I think is one the
tagline.
The tagline is it's a thinky tagline. It's a great thinky tagline. They haven't finished being alive. Yeah. Or you could take the tagline from Deerskin, which is killer style.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
Merci.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.